The seventh Mahavidya, Dhumavati. Dhumavati, literally the smoky one, is one of the Mahavidyas out of the group of 10 Hindu tantric goddesses. Dhumavati represents the fearsome aspect of Devi, the Hindu divine mother. She is often portrayed as an old, ugly widow and is associated with the things considered inauspicious and unattractive in Hindu culture, such as the crow and Chaturmas period. The goddess is often depicted on a horseless chariot or riding a crow, usually in a cremation ground. She carries a winnowing basket in one hand, which is supposed to carry poverty away from her followers. Dhumavati is said to manifest herself at the time of cosmic dissolution, the Pralaya time, and is the void that exists before creation and after dissolution. While Dhumavati is generally associated with only inauspicious qualities, her thousand name hymn relates her positive aspects as well as her negative ones. She is often called tender hearted and a bestower of boons. Dhumavati is described as a great teacher, one who reveals ultimate knowledge of the universe, which is beyond the illusionary divisions like auspicious and inauspicious. Her ugly form teaches the devotees to look beyond the superficial beauty of the body, to look inward and seek the inner truths of life. Dhumavati is described as a giver of siddhis, that is, the supernatural powers, a rescuer from all troubles, and a granter of all desires and rewards, including ultimate knowledge and moksha, that is, salvation. Her worship is also prescribed for those who wish to defeat their foes. Dhumavati's worship is considered ideal for unpaid members of society, such as bachelors, widows, and world renouncers, as well as tantrikas. A Varanasi temple, however, she transcends her inauspiciousness and acquires the status of a local protective deity. There, in the temple, even married couple worship her. Although she has very few dedicated temples, her worship by tantric ritual continues in private, in secluded places like cremation grounds and forests. Dhumavati has no independent existence outside of the Mahavidya group. There is no historic mention of her before. She is included among the Mahavidyas as a goddess of poverty, frustration, and despair. Janila associates Dhumavati with Niritri, the goddess of disease and misery, and Alakshmi, the goddess of misfortune and poverty. The great Kinsley also adds another goddess to the list, Jeshta. The Vedic goddess Niritri is associated with death, decay, bad luck, anger, and need. Hymns emphasize offerings to keep her away. Like Niritri, Dhumavati is associated with unpromising things and hardships. Jeshta, also an early Hindu goddess, has similarities in iconography with Dhumavati. Like Dhumavati, she is dark, ugly, and is associated with the crow. Jesta is described as being unable to tolerate any auspiciousness. Also, like Dhumavati, Jesta dwells in quarrels, inauspicious places, and has a bad temper. Lakshmana Desika, the commentator on the Sarada Tilaka Tantra, identifies Dhumavati with Jesta. Both are Lakshmi, the sister of the antithesis of Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, luck, and beauty, and Dhumavati are described as old, carrying a broom and having a crow banner. Both symbolize hunger, thirst, need, and poverty. While there are similarities between Dhumavati and the three goddesses, the latter lacks significant characteristics of Dhumavati. Like her widowhood, a textural emphasis on her ugliness, the names of the three goddesses also do not figure in Dhumavati's Nama Stotram, where such identifications could have been explicitly mentioned. Dhumavati is often named as the seventh Mahavidya, equates Vishnu's 10th avatar with the 10 Mahavidyas. The fish incarnation Matsya is described as arising from Dhumavati. A similar list in the Mundamala equates Dhumavati with Vamana. In a story from the Sakta Mahabhagavata Purana, which narrates the creation of all the Mahavidyas, says that Sati, the daughter of Daksha, the first wife of God Shiva, feels insulted that she and Shiva were not invited to Daksha's yagna and insists on going there. Despite Shiva's protest, the enraged Sati transforms into the Mahavidyas, who surrounds Shiva from the 10 cardinal directions. Dhumavati stands in the southeast. Another similar legend replaces Sati with Kali as the wife of Shiva and the origin of all the other Mahavidyas. The Devi Bhagavata Purana mentions the Mahavidyas as war companions and forms of goddess Shakambhari. A legend from the Shakti Samagama Tantra describes that Sati commits suicide by jumping in Daksha's yajna, and Dhumavati rises with the blackened face from the sad smoke of Sati's burning body. She is all that is left of Sati and is her outraged and insulted avatar. The Pranatoshi Tantra explains the widowhood of Dhumavati. Once Sati asked Shiva to give her food. When Shiva declined, the goddess eats him to satisfy her extreme hunger. When Shiva requests her to disaugur him, she obliges. Shiva then rejects her and curses her to assume the form of a widow. Another legend tells that Dhumavati was created by the warrior goddesses Durga in the battle against demon Shumbha and Nishumbha. Dhumavati's literal name is the one who abides in smoke, comes from her ability to defeat demons by creating stinging smoke. The Dhumavati Tantra describes her as an old and ugly widow. She is thin, tall, unhealthy, and has a pale complexion. She is described as restless and wicked, unadorned with jewelry. She wears old, dirty clothes and has disheveled hair. Her eyes are fearsome, her nose long and crooked, and some of her long fang-like teeth have fallen out, leaving her smile with gaps. Her ears are ugly and rough. Her breasts hang down. In one of her trembling hands, she holds a winnowing basket, while the other makes a boon conferring gesture or knowledge giving gesture. She rides on a horseless chariot bearing an emblem of a crow and a banner. She is astute and crafty, though always hungry and thirsty. Dhumavati initiates quarrels and evokes fear. Dhumavati is also described as having a black complexion according to few legends and wearing ornaments made of snakes. Her dress is made of rags taken from cremation grounds. She holds a spear and a skull cap in her two hands. The spear is sometimes replaced by a sword. Sometimes Dhumavati rides a crow and holds a trident. She may be depicted wearing a garland of severed heads with red-colored limbs and matted but disheveled hair. Dhumavati has fierce, warlike attributes altogether. In the Sakta Pramoda, she crushes bones in her mouth, creating an awful noise. She also makes the fearful and warlike noises of drums and bells. She wears a garland of skulls, chews the corpses of the demons, Chanda and Munda, and drinks a mixture of blood and wine. Though these are the standard of descriptions of Dhumavati's form, some relatively recent paintings deviated from it. An 18th century painting from Mularam depicts Dhumavati sitting on a chariot pulled by two black scavenger birds with curved beaks. The painting follows the usual attributes like the winnowing basket, boon-giving gesture, but also depicts her young and beautiful and adorned with gold finery, a stark contrast to her usual form. She is always considered a widow, and thus is the only Mahavidya without a consort. Though associated with Shiva, having eaten him, he has since left her. Having destroyed the male element in the universe, she is left with nothing, but still she is considered a Shakti, the female element with the most powerful latent energy. Dhumavati's insatiable hunger and thirst is highlighted in many texts and has been interpreted as the manifestation of her unsatisfied desires.